So first of all, I'm going to pull up the agenda because we're going to try to use an agenda and try to stick to it to keep us on track.
Yep.
Because last week we really wandered real quick. So I think pretty much everybody that's in here right now has been here before except for Pat. And Pat and I have been talking for the last couple of weeks. Her husband's in the VA in Quincy, right? Pat,
Right.
Right. So the biggest thing we're going to focus on, first of all, is the anniversary of the lockdown. So I've been working with people from 10 or 12 other states. The majority of everybody will be doing an event on March 12th. Some states will be doing it on March 13th. And some states are doing multiple events. Some are doing a singular event like us because we've decided we're not biting off more than we can chew. Everybody, no matter where they are going to use signs that says isolation kills too. The isolation kills sign, some states are leaving the bottom part blank. Others are adding your reunite families in long-term care. Excuse me, we're choosing to put a message on the back. We figure you have the real estate, why not use it? I found a place in Texas that can do the signs much cheaper than we have found local, and they have a very fast turnaround time. So this picture here is from Texas when they did this over the summer, and they had 300 signs in that yard, and they moved them every 4 days around like a triangle through the state. They didn't get them all over the state. We're going to take a little bit different of approach that we're going to put up posts starting tomorrow, trying to get people to donate money to make signs, to help us with signs. And then we have pickup locations that I'm working with people all over the state that, so like I have somebody in Decatur, I have somebody in Springfield, we have people all over that will have stacks of signs. So if somebody that donated actually wants some for their yard, they can come get them. But if not, if they just want to help donate to cover the cost, we will be going to Illinois Department of Public Health's office in Springfield on March 12th at 11 a.m. For a few hours. And Pat is calling everybody in Springfield until somebody can confirm that we do not need a permit. We don't think we do, but so far we haven't got a definite confirmation yet.
I'm going to drive over there and scope it out as soon as we get the ice off the road here, and I'll have a better idea. I'll send you some pictures of what's available.
Okay, and that's perfect because I honestly don't remember. It's been too many years since I've been over on that corner to even think it through. Obviously, we will be notifying the media. We were going to try to get as much media coverage as we can. My next job on my agenda is to chase people from NBC at a national level because I finally think I might have the right format to find them. So cross your fingers that this works because we need national coverage. The big group for all the states in the next week or two is going to work on putting a fill in the blank press release together. So the message is the same, but every state can change their what, where, and when. You know, because not every state also, first of all, not every state is Caregivers for Compromise. Some states or other groups, they're joining us. So but we want to make sure the overall message stays the same, which is isolation kills. These people have been locked up against their will for a year. And, you know, after that, then the details will be the only thing that will be changeable. The fundraising part of this for the signs, Fran's working on a Google document that people will be able to fill in the blanks to make a donation. Jill, who's joining us right now, is working on making us some flyers that we can either insert into emails or we can put on Facebook or whatever to help spread the word about this. The big question that we need to come to an answer today is, how are we doing money? So if Tammy would tell me what you found out first.
Yeah, so I looked into GoFundMe. I was just looking for something that would be, I don't know, specific enough. Nobody had a stranger would have no reservations about it. Anyway, what I found out is basically, if we made this price of the signs $8, GoFundMe, they don't really keep a fee like they used to when they first started, but they do charge a transaction amount. So it's kind of, I remembered they got rid of the fee, but anyway, it would be about 45 cents on $8. So that's way too much. And then I did find out too, in a GoFundMe, ultimately what you end up doing is transferring it to your personal bank account. So that doesn't really add any autonomy to the, Caregivers for Compromise to be like that. So I know Peggy was going to look into Venmo or PayPal. So is she on?
Yeah, she's here.
Yeah, you wanted to tell
Yeah,
what
I
you
mean, we
think
could
about that?
do like we did the t-shirts, which is I could take Venmo, PayPal, or
Zella.
Zelly. Yeah, because I looked at Facebook too, and you have to be a non-for-profit
Correct.
to have no fees at all. And then if you want to do Facebook fundraiser, which we could, but it's kind of like what you're saying with GoFundMe, which is I think they did away with the one fee, but they still charge
The transaction.
a transaction fee.
Tammy, you had mentioned that we could maybe, if Peggy had that option to change the title. And Peggy,
Yeah.
did you see that?
So
email?
my son did a PayPal type thing for the Chatham, the JCs here in town for a bartender tip thing when COVID first started and bars first closed down. Anyway, he took his PayPal account, but you can change the name of it in settings. So he changed the name to be something about bartender tip donation or something like that. So people, when they clicked to it in PayPal, they knew what they were giving to, or sort of reaffirmed what they were giving to.
Okay.
And then he said at the end of each month, it was really easy to get a statement from them that just showed everything. And then he just sent that back to the JCs and they threw it in their files. So there was never any sort of question, about it. So he said you can even put pictures,
Is there a fee?
No, not with PayPal and those.
Not with
no.
PayPal or that. No, it would still be your personal account really underneath it. But he said what he did for about 2 or 3 months. He took his Venmo or PayPal, I don't know which, and then he just didn't use that for anything personal. So he could pull that statement out and it would be clear. I mean, that was just his choice. Peggy, obviously you can do whatever you choose, but that was how he handled it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I could do that. I could look into it.
Right, and we can easily track, through how Fran puts the Google Docs together. That will give us a very accurate how much money was raised.
Yeah.
And even if Peggy if anybody questions, then we can take that amount versus showing what Peggy has, that's, and it all equals out the same in the end. And then
Yeah.
to what
Yeah.
we pay
I can't imagine anybody would question. I just hate for it to happen after the fact, and then you're trying to explain it, so.
Yeah, and we learned, and Peggy and I worked out a pretty good system through the t-shirts that we had a good checks and balance. She could look on her spreadsheets, and by using the Google Forms, I can shoot out a spreadsheet that'll say exactly who should have paid what, and then we just lined them up.
My goal is by end of the day tomorrow, we have this up. Okay, because if we don't start collecting money the next week, we're not going to pull this off. So this has to be, we all move, unfortunately, very fast. So
we have the one of the questions was distribution within the state.
right. So that's, like I said, so that's my next comment is right now I have places that people can pick up signs in Lake County, Rogers Park, up by O'Hare, Rockford, Quincy, Decatur, Mount Zion, and Springfield, and then down here by you and I. I am trying to get hold of somebody that's in the Quad City area, and I'm waiting for him to call me back. I'm trying to get hold of somebody that's further south, more in going towards Paducah area. Does anybody know of anybody in any other parts of the state that might be willing to help us? All we need is obviously, as we're moving signs, that they get them from one location, take them to where they are, and let people pick them up if somebody in that area wants them. And when they order signs, it's gonna ask them, do you just want to donate? So we have them for March 12th or May 12th, whatever day, March 12th, sorry. Or would you like to be able to pick up signs to have in your own yard or somebody's business, you know? And then we'll have the list of all the cities. Fran, once you put the document up, we can keep adding cities, right?
Yeah, but like the people that have already filled it in,
Right.
will not have that option.
Right, but that's okay.
Mhm.
Kathy, where do you live? I don't remember.
I live in Crete, which is south of Chicago.
So
Will
like,
County. I
huh?
live in Will County.
So like comparison to like when I'm talking about like Rogers Park and O'Hare, how far are you from those two?
An hour. I'm not close.
Well, that actually is why that's even better then. Because if I need somebody in that area, we're working out a system where like, we're going to meet Peggy. I'm going to meet people in Springfield, probably give them to Lucy, who lives in Rockford, who will meet Peggy somewhere.
So I'm just sharing part of the sign form. This is where we have, at this point, I know she went through it quickly. This is where we have pickup locations.
Okay.
So if anyone's willing, just let us know and we'll just add because wherever the signs are shipped to, then it's just going to be we take them here, we add them there kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, I could get them from O'Hare.
Yeah, you could get them from me. 'Cause, yeah, O'Hare is me. I'm right by.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Right.
that's fine.
So does that make sense what I'm saying of how we're going to, and we might not need all these locations. It's going to depend on, when people sign up, if they want to pick up signs, where they pick. We're only taking them to a location if we need them in a location.
Yeah, that's a great plan. Oh, I was just thinking, so what else? Does anybody have any other ideas? There's that weekly call to action on the Facebook page for, from now till March. And I believe this week, their call to action was simply to get involved with your state organization or find out what your state organization is doing.
Right, and plan an event.
Obviously, that's like preaching to the choir here, but I put it on the agenda just thinking maybe if somebody had an idea of something else. I know, Carrie, you mentioned not wanting to overload ourselves, and we certainly don't want to, but
Right.
that,
And the
anything.
biggest part of that call to action was to get people to touch base and start working on events like what we're working on.
Mhm.
So whoever just signed in, it says LAS. Will you tell us who you are?
Sure. I'm Lori Schlosser, and I'm in Springfield, Illinois. My mom is a resident at Concordia Village. I appreciate
Hi.
all of your work here. I have been following you guys, so I do appreciate
I'm
all
right
your
down
work.
the street from Concordia Village, less than a mile.
So, and Tammy's in Springfield too.
I'm in Springfield too, Lori, so.
Oh, great.
You know,
Right.
Tammy, I think that you are friends with a friend of mine. Katie Ambrose mentioned you to me.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right. So we are working on actually planning an event in Springfield for March 12th for the 1-year anniversary of the facilities being locked down. So I'm glad you joined us because we'll always take new people.
I appreciate that. I had a chance yesterday to talk at length with the executive director of Concordia, and I feel like I have a better sense of the landscape, and it isn't necessarily pretty. So I was
So-
interested to
If you want to send me your contact information, I will get hold of you and you tell me what they told you, and I'll tell you how to get inside.
Oh, actually, I was inside this week.
Okay, good.
My
Perfect.
greater concern is the long-term ability for the facility to open up post-vaccinations.
Yep.
That will
It's
come
not
from
gonna happen.
CMS. And CMS right now basically has said, stop asking, we'll tell you when.
Yeah, that's basically what the executive director told me. She told me even in the state of Illinois, it's pretty pointless even to ask public health to do anything because they will not until CMS
Correct.
or
CDC.
CDC or CMS makes changes, there'll be no changes in the way things work, even post-vaccine,
Correct.
until there's a change at the federal level.
Anybody watch the fireside chat
I've watched them, yes.
Yes.
So,
Wednesday?
and Bruce and I actually have an email from the nursing director, the director of nursing homes at CMS that exactly told us that. But that doesn't mean we're going to give up by any means. Okay, so let's,
Okay, so the next thing up on the agenda, well, so Tammy had asked was there anything else we should be doing?
I think at the moment we stay right on track where we are. The hashtags actually is what we should be doing. That is the thing we can add to this at the moment, is the
Yeah, I think
hashtags.
that's next on the agenda. The only other thing I've thought of is we haven't talked a lot about, I mean, Carrie, you've talked about writing the media and that, but we can all write our Congress people. We can write news. Last night I fired off to CBS Sunday Morning and to Dick Durbin and to the
Right.
White House. And I have I can share the letter I sent on the Facebook page if anybody wants to take it. And, you know, some forms you have to limit your number of words, so you have to edit it or something like that. And then sometimes you can send the whole thing. But I think the more we do, and it's just from the point of view, we need CDC and CMS and IDPH to put out guidance, because the homes are left with we're ignoring the science that either they have natural immunity from having had COVID or they have immunity from the vaccine. And we can't get any safer than that. So now we're killing them with the isolation, there's no doubt.
So
We've taken away the COVID risk as much as possible.
on your
So you're
point,
gonna
Tammy,
upload that, Tammy?
Yeah,
To
I'll
the,
put it on the Facebook page.
in the
so,
file, in the
In
files?
yeah. So the national group talked about doing 2 emails and 1 letter the week of March 12th. But maybe I talked to everybody and we try to get the letter out before March as one of the calls to action. And what we talked about is asking everybody to get a yellow envelope and snail mail 1 letter in a yellow envelope to CMS. Because if it's real easy to delete 1,000 emails. It's not real easy to ignore 1,000 envelopes. Let me talk to them, because maybe we need to do that as a prelude to the week of March 12th.
Yeah, well, I did the news agency hoping that they might cover it in the week of March 12th.
Right, and that's what
that needs to go out.
No,
soon.
and we're working on that too.
Yeah.
But I will get both of those things added to my agenda for our next meeting, because we have one next Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Fran, you want to talk about the hashtags?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry, my cat has this determined she's going to help me a lot today. Okay, so I've talked about hashtags off and on, and I'm going to go over them again and the importance of them. Hashtags are a way to connect social media content to a specific topic, event, theme, or conversation. And so the importance of this is, I don't know if you notice a lot of the posts that I post, I try to include some hashtags on them. Then you can actually Google those hashtags and all these posts populate up. And the more we use those hashtags, the more they'll populate towards the top. So, oops, sorry, wrong direction. So it makes the post easier to discover around those topics. And I had been using isolation kills, but we're actually going to change it to isolation kills 2, because if you notice the yellow sign, it said 2 on it, and other advocacy groups across the nation will also be using this. So if anything from this point forward, if you guys can use isolation kills 2, and there's no space in it, and you put the hashtag, and the other one is hashtag reunite families. So literally anything you post concerning your loved one being locked up, any testimonies, anything you post on any of the pages, even on your personal page, if you put those couple of hashtags in there, that will tie them. If someone were to search hashtag isolation kills too, your post will then go into that. And it creates a unity and makes it louder. As I keep saying, the more voices, the louder the roar. And so that's kind of what a hashtag does, is it makes the roar unified even more. So I will post the couple of hashtags together onto our page and put them back into the announcements. But if you can do that, I mean, one of the hashtags we use just for our group that, I mean, we could add just that one to ours, as well as Caregivers for Compromise IL. That'll tie it in, but you don't have to use that one. But the other ones, if you could please use that on everything from this point forward, it really will make a difference. Thank you.
That big deal.
Thanks, Fran. So next up, we had on our Facebook page, there's an about statement that
Right here.
is, okay, it's right there on the screen, which focused for a long time. We were focused on getting the essential caregiver in the IDPH guidelines, which we got. I think without the group's input, that probably wouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out to be the sort of access we hope for. And the compassionate caregivers, the compassionate compassionate care visits have seemed to be more successful for people to get in. But anyway, I just, when we were thinking of things to talk about, to restate that about statement. So I did a little work yesterday on just, if I can, I'm going to try to share this. So anyway, I looked up like it's not really a mission statement. It's not really a vision. But there was a place where it told me how to make purpose statements for a team. And so I went out to all the other state organizations to see what they had. And many of them had the very same statement, actually. And it was geared towards assisted living, but it was very concise. So it's to join our forces as a common voice for our loved ones in nursing homes and assisted living who are dying from isolation. And then they go on to say, stay tuned for updates or something. So, so I took part of that and put it with, so it's a little longer. I don't know if this is too long, but.
So I really like that. The only thing I would add is where it says we have helped each other. I would probably go, we have helped each other and continue to establish working relationships, because this is a continuing effort.
Okay.
Or something on that line.
We continue to help each other. We continue to help each other. So
Right.
that would imply we have already. So.
Right. So that way, it reads as we are, because, like I've said, even if COVID ended tomorrow, we're not done. We are
True.
nowhere near done. We have learned how broken our system is and how much work our system needs.
So where did you do that? I'm sorry. Is that easier for everyone to see if I share it like that?
Yeah.
Okay. I missed what you said though.
Okay, so actually there's two things now that I look at it this way. So where it says here in the middle, Fran, where it says we have helped each other. And I think we need to add, and we continue helping each other establish working relationships. We have and continue.
Well, if just we continue, it kind of makes it
Okay, that's fine.
easier.
And my only other question is up on top where it says residential facilities. I think we need long-term care facilities.
Well, I resisted that for the sole purpose that to me, if you say long-term care, people think skilled nursing, and that's not what our group represents.
Right.
We have assisted living. We have.
No, I know that too, but technically.
That's true.
Hey, Stephen, since you know the breakdown from Smurfs to sniffs to everything in between, which phrase would you use?
Well, I know the breakdown, so that's to me, residential facilities and long-term care kind of interchangeable almost. The only ones that it might exclude are the short-term rehab where you're there for just a few weeks.
Right. Which do you think the general population who doesn't know would?
What if you put residential facilities for seniors and minors?
What about
Well,
residential care facilities?
There you go.
that's
There
good.
you go.
There you go. So I just want to make sure people realize what kind of residential facility we're talking about.
Yeah, I do too. I just didn't want to pinhole us into one exclusive.
Right.
But that works. That's enough.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So I don't know, that's it really. Just to put something on the Facebook page as we try to get other people involved and interested.
In the public through media outreach, through social media, through just media, how kind of outreach?
I don't even know if it needs to be any more than what it is.
Okay.
This is just a generalizing statement. It's not a pinpoint.
Yeah, I kind of took that really from the national page when they were talking, or maybe it was that PowerPoint you shared, Fran or Carrie, that they use that term for the March week using media outreach. So
Right.
seemed to be
Okay.
an overall term.
Okay. So I can easily flip that out if you guys
Yes.
are good with that.
Yep.
Go
ahead.
I had another reading towards the end, right after state ombudsman, where it says, and some gain compassionate care visits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking maybe put a period after state ombudsman, and then we support compassionate care visits, or
We have helped facilitate getting.
Well, we said earlier we continue helping, so maybe
facility leaders, state ombudsman,
we continue
and state legislatures here, right?
So,
Yeah.
And here we can talk about
Something about gain access.
we support and advocate with loved ones to gain. I don't know. I'm just randomly. You guys can change it.
No, I think that.
Yeah, I felt like we kind of had a run-on sentence before, and now now this reads better, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
So Emily just put a comment in over here too. This group was
Established.
created on the common goal of advocating for our loved ones living in residential care facilities who are suffering from isolation.
So is it created or established? I don't know. If that sounds better, that's.
I don't think it matters, but I think advocating helps use for language helps because that's what we're doing. We're advocating for people.
Mhm.
No, I agree.
Going in.
Just a thought. I'm just a thought. Just
No, I think just add the one word, Fran.
It was easier for me to copy and paste it from that way.
Okay.
The whole chat. Sorry.
That's fine.
Okay.
There we go.
but you could do created or established, or we could find another word. Just
I have a question. Do you need to explain isolation from what? Or, I mean, for somebody who just got into this, looking for the isolation that was brought on from the COVID.
Right. That's not a bad idea at all. It just needs one more sentence of, the isolation caused by the restriction of visitors due to COVID-19.
Yep. Yeah,
Exactly.
I think it's a good idea.
COVID-19 visitor restrictions.
Yeah, something. I'm just throwing words. You guys get organized and you know that.
Yes, no?
No,
Yeah, maybe say visitor restriction.
Visitor
are they
restriction.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Sorry, I'm a horrible typer. Are we good here?
Yes, I think so.
I'm good.
Next on the agenda, Tammy?
So now we just have like old business. Is there any legislation update? Carrie's on the phone, so we could just switch to new business. I don't know if anybody else has anything, idea, questions, new attendees. Lori, I think you're our new attendee. You have any questions for us?
No, I don't believe that I do. I don't believe that I do. The only points I guess that I would make, and the things I thought about after I talked to the executive director yesterday, she said to me, Lori, the world needs to understand that the residential facilities' ability in general to keep people from bad outcomes has increased exponentially since the spring. And so everyone wants to say 40% of the world of the deaths were caused or happened in residential facilities, but we are much more capable now of supporting folks who come in contact with the virus than we were. That needs to be factored in as well. Because I kept making the point, if we're vaccinated, what's the problem? And she said, yeah, we're not only vaccinated, but we're also better prepared to take care of things. So the subtleties of the argument, if you're writing to someone, I think that's a really important point. And the other important point is it isn't just isolation to me, it's also restriction of activities in the facility. So
Yeah.
the fact that mom can't go to church and there's no group anything. So even when I'm not with her, it's an issue because she's not getting that stimulus from the other group activities. And that's ridiculous when everyone is vaccinated.
Yeah.
Although everyone isn't, I mean, that is the problem. And they said that yesterday on that fireside call, basically CMS said, and I know my mom's facility, only 50% of residents and staff got vaccinated at my mom's facility. So that's the problem. And then what they say, because they don't know enough about the vaccine, is, and it's hard to understand, but it's like, even if you're vaccinated, you can still, they don't know 100%, but they're thinking you can still carry the virus and give it to someone else. So in other words, if I'm vaccinated, well, I got to still get my second dose, but if I go to Jewel, I mean, obviously I wear a mask, but I guess people that, there are people not wearing masks. So even if I'm vaccinated, someone can sneeze or whatever, who's carrying the virus, I could carry it like in my nose or whatever. I'm okay because I'm vaccinated, but I can still give it to someone else.
I appreciate that. And she did go through the subtle, but I think we're lacking common sense. That's a particular scenario. And we've got a lot of particular scenarios. The problem through all of it has been this blanketing of guidelines. It's just too restrictive. So everybody
I agree 100%. I'm just telling you what they're saying. And, I mean, I guess that's why, like, I've posted, I think everyone, if you're just, what they did say yesterday is they said, obviously, as people get vaccinated, restrictions should ease based on that and what the guidelines in place are. So I guess everyone needs to be really familiar with what the guidelines are right now, the CMS and IDPH guidelines that are out. And that's where I posted those templates, and push your facilities. I mean, obviously, to follow the guidelines that are in place, because if you are in a certain tier and phase, they should be doing, they can open up. And then
the difficulty there is even one case will shut everything down. And even one case, my executive director told me, Lori, if I am tested asymptomatic, it will shut the whole place down, even the care center, and I'm not even over there. So it's common sense stuff that we are totally missing.
You know what?
Exactly.
They can open up safely. I don't care what happens. They can open up safely. I listened to that Wednesday fireside chat, and they need to update all the guidelines. MS and CDC still are not on the same page. Okay. We got vaccinated here. Probably 95% of the people got vaccinated in this facility. If you wear a mask, social distance, there's no reason why facilities can't.
Yeah, I agree.
So-
with you.
I agree.
So my comment,
Oh, go ahead.
my comment is that every part of the state is different on how quickly they're getting the vaccines too. So the problem is when you have a blanket statement or blanket protocol, my parents live in Champaign County. They're getting their vaccinations quicker than we are in Cook County, Lake County, so it's not even, so my grandma's facility hasn't even started getting vaccinated yet, but then other facilities are. So that's the challenge. It's nothing's getting completed quick enough. So we can't even get moving. And so what may work in Springfield is not working in Deerfield. So it's just the inconsistencies, and that's what's so frustrating.
But it seems like CMS, and I guess my question is, Peggy, did they address this, that, it takes so long for a guideline to get developed and then printed and then out. And so are they even saying anything about once you get, like, say you do have a facility that gets 90% vaccinated, are they going to do any new guidelines, or are they just telling you that you have to go back to what's already out, and they're not going to take a stand on the effect the vaccine has on a facility's abilities?
Right. Yesterday on the fireside chat, they basically said what's in place right now is what's in place right now. They gave no indication of, they said they're looking at the data every day. They said that's all they could say right now. They're analyzing. They said every day, every hour. They said they can't even keep up with the questions like we're having. And they say they hear us, they understand, but as of now, because there's too many unknowns, that you'll follow what is out right now. And I mean, what I don't understand is, like, people are going to take the vaccination. I respect people's decision to not get vaccinated. But yet, and it's not to say you punish them, because it's not a punishment, but people that are vaccinated, they can at least allow those people, to maybe go whatever, to the, get out of
Absolutely,
their activity,
Because otherwise, what's the point in getting vaccinated?
Right.
Exactly.
Well, there was a story on a podcast saying that they were talking about, or I forgot where I was listening to it, that facilities, you're not required as an employee to get vaccinated, either for the flu shot. You can opt out of the flu shot. You don't have to have the flu shot. So even facilities aren't, like, some facilities are only vaccinating their staff 30% or less. Some are higher, depends on the region. So, like, even with that being said, if our loved ones are vaccinated, but the staff are choosing not to be, based on whatever their reasoning, that is a bind too for our loved ones.
Yep.
The executive director I talked to, that's an excellent point, Emily. The executive director I talked to yesterday said there needs to be almost like an incentive to staff members to get vaccinated, because it will change life for them in a positive way. And that message, she felt as though that message needs to come all the way from the top to every state, that will change life positively for staff members as well.
Yeah, I read somewhere, and I don't remember where, that if there was a facility that was using some of that government money that we know the facilities have gotten, and they were giving their staff an incentive if they got vaccinated.
Yeah.
But it did also talk about the distrust, like a lot of, especially at the CNA level, they really don't trust their administrators, and so they have a reluctance to follow their lead that the vaccine is important. And that vaccine hesitancy is throughout our society, so I get it.
And a cultural mistrust too for the people who are essential workers. Culture, they don't. It's just a cultural.
That's because facilities up who aren't getting vaccinated. Okay, they're writing people up here who don't get the flu shot. That's ridiculous. And should be illegal.
Yeah.
The whole thing is, it can be done safely with people coming in, 1 or 2 people a week, 3 people a week, 5 people a week. Okay, with masks, social distancing, it's been proven already that works.
Yep.
People coming into facilities, vaccinated or not vaccinated.
Yeah.
They
If you're
told me
better.
They told me yesterday at the Quincy Veterans Home that, because I asked why my husband hadn't been to the dentist yet. He hasn't been to the dentist in 2 years, and his mouth is terrible. And they said, well, if we send him to the dentist, he'll have to isolate for 14 days. He has dementia. He walks all the time. He's not going to stay in that room. So he gets punished for going to the doctor for needed care. That's just not right.
And it's not necessary. I sent you all that this morning. So Stephen, just so you know, I pulled Pat to get hold of you.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Stephen.
So anyway, first of all, they can't mandate the facility. The facilities cannot mandate the vaccine the same way they can the flu shot or a TB test.
Yep.
Until it comes out of emergency use from CDC and goes to a traditional approval, they cannot legally mandate it. That's the problem first.
Yeah.
And then it is convincing the staff that it's safe. I know in my son's facility, the first round, they didn't have, the staff ratio was pretty low. But after the staff watched the nursing home side and half of that staff get it, by the time they came back to do Lynn's side and other staff, more staff members were willing because they'd seen that the other people got through it without getting sick. So in our building, we are 96% on residents. So technically we have 4 residents that refuse it and will not budge. And staff, I think she told me we're up to like 74%. But they are talking about it all day, every day. So I'm going to share my screen for a minute. I've mentioned these emails to a lot of people, but so this is the emails that I've gotten from CMS in regards to visitation, regards to compassionate care visits. And I've been sharing them with people to use when they're arguing with facilities. This is what I sent you this morning, Pat.
Oh,
Because,
good. Thank you.
First of all, it really clearly states there, that residents have the right to leave a facility. CDC doesn't recommend it. And if a resident would like to leave for more than 24 hours, we recommend considering placing them on transmission-based precautions upon returning. Nowhere does it say, and that says after they've been gone for 24 hours. So, a doctor's appointment, anything else, it's not required. Okay, and then even down here, and this is the one that they sent to Bruce and I, that, again, reminding that, the September 17th guidelines say facilities must facilitate visitation. And if I have to, it's, I've been giving this to anybody that it will help at this point. We just keep sharing it until facilities get it, which is why I've left everything intact. So there's no missing that this came from CMS.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't.
Carrie, I will send you my email. I would love a copy of that. And I would just say to Pat, my husband is a dentist. Nationwide, there's no data at all around anybody contracting COVID from a dental appointment. Just thought I'd put you to your, now within the staff, they may get it in and around the community or in their homes, but there's no spread happening from dental offices. Dentists are germaphobes.
Right. So where it talks about legislation.
Yeah. If we
so I have
quick.
spent most of the week going back and forth with Jill Tracy's office. Any bill that's getting submitted for this session has to have all of its revisions and stuff, or at least the main part of it in by next week. Jill's office's goal is tomorrow to get everything in and finalized. So I have spent hours and hours. They do it, I redo it, and we're going back and forth. The way it's going, if it gets submitted right, and if it was to be approved, which is the big F, folks. I mean, we very clearly have put things in there, such as every facility will allow each resident to have 3 designated caregivers. If the facility was to have to close because of COVID, some other, public health emergency or natural disaster, the facility can have, Jill thinks they need 14 days. So we went to letting them have 14 days, that they have 14 days to shut down, get organized, get their stuff in order. But by day 14, they must let the caregivers just start coming in.
Okay. Can I just interject, maybe back up
Yes.
to half a step for Pat and Lori and maybe anybody else? So what, from the beginning, we talked about doing trying to get some kind of legislation so that we can't get back in this position ever again. And that's what Carrie's referring to, is working with Jill.
Oh, good idea.
And our legislation that we're asking for is almost the complete opposite of every other state. Every other state has it all tied to COVID. And I'm like, hold on, there's going to be more. There's going to be a flu outbreak. There's going to be a building that gets C. diff. And. I want our bases covered forever. We added things in there such as, and this we've asked to be permanent regardless of a health emergency or not, that if a person is deemed end of life, if a facility has the room, they must move them to a private room. B, if the resident isn't in a private room, that their family and their loved ones have 24/7 unlimited access. If they have to be in a shared room, that they must allow 2 people with that resident 24 hours a day. And there's a time limit on how long the staff can ask somebody to step out when they do something without checking in with the family. All the things that we know that go on that make people walk away and can't get in when their loved ones are dying, we've tried to put in this. I mean, we added things like, the facilities have to allow the caregivers to get their loved ones up and walking, whether it's inside or outside, as long as standard safety protocols are being followed.
So is that something once they submit, Jill's office submits that, is that then something you can share?
Soon as Jill tells me I can, I will. I don't know if it has to go to the floor or not, or first yet. And I would think it's probably gonna have to go to the floor first. You know what I mean? Because they're gonna have to let the other legislators have time to look at it. Because obviously, like they said, it will come back for more revisions.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, it will up until it's voted on, and even maybe even after that. But I was just thinking in some form that we all could have the opportunity to read it.
And I can ask that question. It's a way more complicated than we thought. First of all, because it's not just nursing homes. They're having to list every kind of long-term care facility that we can think of and make sure she has the right definitions with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've done a lot of that legwork, but there are certain things I just couldn't find what she needed. So I finally last night told her to get hold of Stephen's boss. I'm like, she can answer these questions for you.
So we just have like a couple minutes left. And the only thing I think on the agenda to cover is Peggy about the
Tiers and
levels, the tiers and such.
But she walked away from her computer.
Oh, did she? Okay. Well, I know that information is it's in the files on the Facebook page.
There she goes.
And
hey, Peggy, it's your turn.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has any questions, I kind of touched on it a little bit ago, which is, I think this is what people are going to have to follow, and not to say that any facility, we all know you can go in and say, I'm in this tier, we're in this tier, this phase, and they might not necessarily follow it anyway. But that's kind of, again, what CMS said yesterday on the call, which is as people get vaccinated, restrictions should ease on their own, because of, obviously the tiers will be within Illinois and then the phases. But I know, which we all know, is one positive case basically puts you back to the beginning. So, yeah, so right now, everybody, you can get on IDPH and know what tier you're in. And what's confusing is because IDPH, their tiers, tier 3, which we're all out of, right? Well, not everybody, but tier.
Yes, everyone's out of 3.
Everyone's out of 3 now? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the most restrictive tier, whereas CMS, their most restrictive phase is 1. So it's kind of, that's what makes it confusing. So, and I think people, you have to ask your facility. I think I've said it, to ask what CMS phase you're in, because that is, every facility could be in a different CMS phase. And that's based on the, if you had an outbreak, I mean, that's going to automatically throw you back to CMS 1. And I mean, it's frustrating because then once you're in one phase, you have to wait 14 days to advance to the next phase. So, I mean, I think what we all know, which Carrie has said, is your best bet is going to be to ask right now to try to get in the door based on compassionate care. Because
What's the difference between phases and tiers?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the difference between phases and tiers?
Tiers are IDPH is what the tiers, that's IDPH makes the tiers. So phases are CMS.
Okay, so you can be on a tier 1 with a phase 3 and
Yep.
two things, right?
Yep.
Two
Yep.
different things, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. IDPH basically makes the tiers, and then CMS sets or the phase, or actually the facility is basically the CMS phases, because based on where you are with your COVID cases.
So what is the difference between the phase and the tier?
Again, phases, if your facility is under the CMS guidelines. And so right now, like everybody, you can get on IDPH and know what tier you're in. So if, like, I'll give an example, my mother's in tier 1, or no, we're in tier 2. I think we're in tier 2. And we're in CMS phase 1 because we had an outbreak. So then you have to go back to that chart. I mean, it's very confusing. Then you have to look at the chart to see, based on where you're at, what the facility should be allowing, or could be, I guess is probably,
Again, IDPH and CMS aren't on the same page.
They never will be.
So if I could kind of step in, and so your tiers are the, how the state's broken up into regions.
Yeah.
The tiers are on the regional level.
Yep.
The phases are on the facility level.
Yep.
So you could have 2 facilities, across town from each other that are in the same tier because they're in the same region, but they're in different phases because one had a COVID infection. Yep. And the other one didn't.
Good answer, Stephen.
Yep.
Thanks, Stephen.
I thought the tiers were regulated if you can come in the facility or not.
It does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But it also regulates whether restaurants are open or bars, capacity. The tier is, what is the whole region allowed to do and what isn't the region allowed to do?
Yeah, if you are, if your region is in tier 3, I think is the highest level.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if your region is in tier 3, then you are automatically in CMS phase 1.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Mm-mm.
That's not?
No, it's not. What happened is when everyone was thrown into tier 3 mitigation, but November, whatever that day was, I think it was November 20th, everyone went to tier 3. You were frozen at that point into your whatever CMS phase you were in. You were frozen at that time. So in other
Okay,
words,
that's right.
my mother's facility at that time, we were doing very well. We were in CMS 3, but then and probably everyone ended up in CMS 1, because if you go to an outbreak, then you automatically go to CMS 1. So if somebody was lucky enough to be in a facility that was, let's say, in CMS 3, which is least restrictive, during tier 3 mitigation, you were frozen. So now that we came out on January 18th, whatever your facility was in, that's what you came out in. So if you were in CMS 3 on November 20th and January 18th, when we all came out of tier 3, you're in whatever CMS phase you were in on November 20th. It froze at that day.
Okay,
But
so
like my mom's case, we did have an outbreak. So we, within the time, like in December, we automatically had to go to CMS 1. So I know it's very confusing, believe me. When, just so everybody knows, is when you are in tiered mitigation, so until you get out of tier mitigation, so once you're out of tier 1, you go into what the state is in, which is phase 4, okay? You can't move CMS phases while you're in tiered mitigation. So like my mom's facility right now is in CMS 1, most restrictive. You can't move until you get out of the Illinois tiers. So until DuPage County, where we're at, goes to phase 4, you can't move CMS phases until you're out of tiered mitigation. So just so everybody knows that. I know it's believe me, Carrie, you know, when we're on these IDPH calls on Friday, they don't even know what the hell they're talking
No.
about.
And Peggy's very accurate. There are times, honestly, that we've wound up sending people messages of, hold on, you didn't say this right.
Right. Yep.
But I do want to bring attention that Tammy has posted. If you have agenda ideas, please message or email Tammy, and she's giving you her email address. And because we do want to be courteous of your time, and we have definitely gone over.
Yep.
So I am going to stop the recording now. So thank you everyone for attending and for sharing.